My next guest hails from Enniscorthy in County Wexford and is now among the 5 smartest people in the world. If you put it this way, Albert Einstein had an IQ of 165, but my guess, I'm told, is 197. Yes, indeed, and he got his first computer when he was 9, and then 4 years later, he hacked into NASA. And he now runs his own business and even helped catch the Boston bombers. So extraordinary has his life been that he has become the subject of a new television series.
Walter! Einstein had an IQ of 165. Mine's 197. When I was a kid, it got me into a little trouble. Now that I'm an adult, nothing's changed.
Homeland Security, we're looking for Walter O'Brien.
I ran checks on all of you. Mechanical prodigy, world-class shrink, a human calculator. Brilliant minds working at half capacity. You want to do something meaningful? Here's your chance.
Would you welcome, please, Walter O'Brien, ladies and gentlemen. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome to the program. As I was saying in the introduction, that you've reportedly one of the highest IQs in the world, which I suspect is not an easy thing to have to contend with. Can you recall what age you were when you realised that you were a little different from the other kids in the class?
I was probably always a little different, but didn't know why.
Yeah.
And it just seemed that I was more extreme in whatever we did. Any activity we did, everything I built or put together, I went further than other people would normally go. And if I was left alone with any puzzles or electronics, I tend to take them apart to try and figure out how they work. Couldn't necessarily put them back together, but I'd take them apart.
So you had this curiosity that was beyond the norm of whatever age group you were in at a given time.
Right, yeah.
So if we go to the computer, because you're 39 years old, is that right?
Correct,
so the
yeah.
computer that you would have been dealing with in your age, you're going to age yourself by telling us the type of computer. Which one was it, Walter?
It was an Amstrad 464. There was really only 2 main computers in Ireland at the time, the Amstrad and a Commodore 64.
And was this your epiphany, if you like, intellectually?
Yeah, I mean, something definitely, some bells went off when I connected a computer for the first time. And I've been always a very left-brain person, very logical. And it was almost intuitive as I got more and more enthralled in the computer. How it thinks is how I think.
Yeah.
And I was able to kind of envision, when I have to program something, I can envision a lot of the lines of code in my head before I even write them into the machine.
Right.
So working with I became completely enthralled with it, spent days with it, and through trial and error, started learning programming and coding.
We saw a clip there of what looked like the FBI coming down on a farm in Enniscorthy when you were about 13, hacking into NASA. Did that all happen, or is that fiction?
The show was fictional. I did do a certain amount of hacking when I was younger, and I did get in trouble for it. And you know, we've tried to represent the stories as much as we're allowed to.
Yeah.
In terms of my background and what I've done, and try to keep it entertaining in the show.
Right. So, did you hack NASA when you were 13, and did the American military or whoever else, security force, come down and say, "Hey, kid," or to expect to see some evil mastermind working away at a desk somewhere?
Yes, I did some hacking. What happened of NASA and what happened after that, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to go into.
You're not allowed to go into for reasons of?
Well, because that was the agreement we made.
You and?
Me and the people I agreed with.
Touche. Okay, I'll take that. When you think of, did you do your Leaving Cert in Ireland, Walter?
I did Leaving Cert. I also did the A-levels at the same time because I was trying to get a combination of points for what I studied.
So how'd you get on the Leaving?
It was typical, again, where I was good at certain subjects that were more pragmatic or more practical. And then other subjects, I remember Gaelic being one, where I didn't do well at all because I had trouble, focusing on whether I needed again.
Yeah, you won't get asked this question on CNN, but how'd you do in Irish?
So I think I failed it.
You think you failed Irish. I misread that. So, and is that disappointing, or is that something?
No, it hasn't hurt me so far.
Okay, you've still survived to tell the tale. With the IQ that you have and the level it's at, is that difficult for you in terms of you have this what people call emotional intelligence? Is that an issue for you, socially, if you like? Yeah,
absolutely. It's something that it took me a while to recognize it, because when you don't have something, you don't know you're missing it.
Yeah.
And in general, for myself and for those that I work with, I figured out that the higher the IQ, the lower the EQ, or emotional quotient. So I'll call it common sense, social skills, ability to read and judge other people. And I found that, fortunately, EQ can be changed. Once you're self-aware that you don't have it, you can begin to learn and be more sensitive, more aware of raising that up.
Okay.
And, we work with a lot of very, very talented, high IQ individuals in the company, and we work very hard to try and raise their EQ at least to an average level, so they can function as a team and communicate properly with each other.
Okay, so it's something that can be learned. I wasn't aware of that.
It can be improved, yeah.
Okay, can be improved. Scorpion Computer Services is what? Is there a mission statement for the company?
There is, but I won't bore you with it. I mean, basically, it's a company that's been evolving a lot. We've been running it over 25 years now.
Yes.
And, it started off as a regular kind of IT consulting firm. We're fixing little problems. And then more and more larger companies came to us with larger problems, and we got very good at fixing those. And then we started working with government and military on very large technology and robotics and drones and image recognition and missile defense, and it just got bigger and bigger. And recently, what we discovered was the way that we solve software problems and break them down is actually a good way to solve any kind of problem in life.
Yeah.
Redefine the problem, break it into baby steps, execute against it. So we recently opened up a new brand called conciergeup.com.
Yeah.
Because you normally concierge down things that are too simple to do yourself.
Yes, okay.
And that has broken us out into a whole new area of challenges that have nothing to do with computers.
Okay.
From choose a winning racehorse based on his DNA, to put a Shark Tank in my office, to tell me how to make my book a bestseller. And we just take these kind of fuzzy problems and try and break them down into practical steps.
So your company, and I just suppose this TV program that'll be shown here in the new year, is about, I think we spoke about this on the radio at one point, is about attracting the most intelligent minds in the world, really.
Correct.
How do you, what's your hiring policy in that sense? How do you find them?
Well, we have a couple of methodologies. One is we get access to about 10,000 school reports a year.
You do?
And we look at for A's and F's. So people that turn on and off their intelligence, whether they like the subject or the teacher or not. If we find some, we have a genealogist that tracks their family tree. IQ is often hereditary. So we find maybe brothers or cousins that are also high IQ.
Yeah.
We look for a minimum of 150 IQ. And then we bring them in on board and try to make them self-aware to see if we can raise the EQ. About 30% of them can't change themselves. They're stuck in a rut. So we have to let them go. And then we partner them with the other kinds of people we hire, which are people with high EQ and a reasonable IQ.
Yeah.
We call them the super nannies.
What do they
They babysit the geniuses and the customers.
Do they?
And you need that because the really, really good engineers are never going to be out playing golf and schmoozing with the customers.
Yeah.
And you need that kind of bridge of both sides. And I think most companies are forced to kind of hire people in the middle.
Yes.
And whereas I hire people on both ends and try and get them to work together.
Is it easy to maintain a steady staff flow, or at least to keep high IQ people involved? Because, this may be a cliche, but I understand that people with the high IQ get bored quite quickly. And
no, you're exactly right.
How do you maintain their interest in your life?
Like everything else in life, I engineered it.
Go on.
I kind of studied and looked at surveys and read a few books on why smart people quit their jobs.
Right.
And there's a few reasons. Number one, their boss is an idiot. Number two, they get very bored in what they're doing.
Yes.
They don't like instability. And mostly they don't like unfairness. They don't like, if they build up a grudge over time and feel unappreciated, eventually that grudge will reach a threshold where they'll quit.
Yes.
So knowing that, we developed a culture that does the opposite of all those things. So for example, anyone who works with me, they're usually working on 3 different projects for 3 different customers at the same time.
Right.
that keeps them from getting bored.
Okay, they're spinning a lot of plates.
Right. They usually have two kinds of bosses, usually someone with a higher IQ and someone with a higher EQ. So they're constantly being mentored. So they can't consider the boss an idiot if the boss knows more than them. For fairness, we actually quantify fairness. We found a way of measuring and quantifying fairness in what we do. So if you've ever worked on a group project with a couple of other people, and at the end of it you find out that they didn't pull their weight and you did half the work, in our world we track everything. So we can actually prove that and say, you're right, we've been minus 16% unfair to you and plus 8% extra fair to them because we paid you all 33 1/3.
It's all down to the numbers.
So now you get a 16% raise on the same number of hours in the next project. So I load balance your unfairness through zero.
Yeah.
And
I can't believe I'm
tends to make
keeping
them
up with
happy.
you, but I am for some weird reason. I actually understand you. This is a first for me. Let me talk to you about the program, Scorpion. I've read two different things about it. One was that it's a mixture between CSI meets Big Bang Theory. And then I met another fella today, people in Ireland know him, Dave Fanning, who told me that it's the A-Team for this generation. How are you with any of these descriptions?
Well, those are both, I mean, Big Bang Theory is #1 show on TV,
Yeah,
so it's not a bad thing to be compared to at all.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, and it took me a while to realize this, but like most people my age here, we grew up watching the A-Team and MacGyver and Knight Rider and so on. And it's a bunch of oddballs working together to save the world. And I went, it's funny how I turned out. So I thought, nowadays, the generation of kids now are watching Kardashians and Jersey Shore.
Sure.
I start worrying about how they'll turn out. And CSI has been on the air about 12 years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of statistics on this, but a large number of kids are studying biology and chemistry because they're inspired by learning about that whole world.
Good.
So if 5 years from now, kids start studying computer science or artificial intelligence because my show was their A-Team and they could relate to these flawed superheroes, then I don't think that does any harm to any country.
Well, we look forward to seeing it in the new year, Walter. Continued success
Thank
in
you.
whatever it is you do. And thanks for coming to see us tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Walter O'Brien, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Walter. Hold your horses there for a sec. The program's called Scorpion, and the TV show is based on Walter's life.